Houston Real Estate Radio starts right now.
Welcome to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register.
I'm James Brown.
And we're happy to be with you this Sunday afternoon. I have a really exciting guest coming on today. He's actually Skyping in, so if you watch our videos at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com, you can see the video. But I read a book recently that I just love. I think it's a fabulous book, and I think you'll love it as well. It's called Your Garagenous Zone, and it's so fitting for me, James, because my garage looks like a tornado hit it.
I think a lot of people's do. A lot of people's do.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Bill West.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, James. Glad to be with you.
So what inspired you to write this fantastic book that I think so many American households can learn from? Because it's so wonderful in telling people how to even face your garage to get ready to get it organized, and then the steps to take. And it just gives you a lot of great information when you're ready to tackle that problem. So what inspired you to do all of this?
Well, with over 3 decades of experience in the real estate field, I've seen literally thousands of garages. And frankly, they all look pretty much the same. There's rather indistinguishable as kind of the jungle of junk. Mm-hmm. We've lived with the landfill mentality. So I kept that in mind. But I had an idea to build a workbench that is a little bit taller than most workbenches. And also that enabled you to put more stuff underneath the workbenches in terms of trash cans and that kind of thing. So in addition to that, I had a carpenter build it. And with the higher workbench top, you didn't have to bend over to work on an item, so you didn't have that stress on the lower back. And I made it as long as I possibly could for my garage space. So with that in mind, as Marty was building my newfound workbench that I love to this day, I had an idea after idea that I wanted to incorporate within the garage, all the way from flooring to lighting to different storage strategies. Mm-hmm. And I announced to my wife, I'm going to write a book. I've never written a book before, but I knew that this was an area that had not been tackled at all in the home organization field.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the way you talk about reinventing your garage. I mean, really, that's what we need to do in America, because we've bought these really nice vehicles and we don't have any place to put them because we have a garage full of junk.
Now, at the beginning of the book, it says, only in America do we store useless junk in the garage and leave our cars worth thousands of dollars in the driveway.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Hey, I like the book, that the book had a little bit of history of the garage as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I think we all have the sense that not much has changed in the garage, but in fact it has. Going back a long time ago, well over 100 years ago, we had the very first garage from about 1910 to 1930 was a detached garage, and the reason for that was because the car was not really reliable, and sometimes it would absolutely burst into flames. And then from about 1930 to 1965, we had the attached one-car garage after cars became much more reliable, the convenience aspect for the one-car garage. And then another trend was the garage door opener. Now, the garage door opener, it was actually patented in 1921, but didn't become commercially viable until 1954. But it wasn't until the late 1970s did the electric garage door opener become a routine fixture in our homes. Regardless of what price point now, it's very difficult to find a garage without a garage door opener.
Right.
And then, as we saw in the mid to late 70s, when we had higher inflation, we saw Mrs. Buyer, Mrs. Homeowner, going to work because of a lot of financial stresses on the family. So we started to see the two-car garage become an evolutionary trend, just because we became a two-car family. And then we saw in 1990 the trend of the three-car garage become on the housing scene. And so we're now seeing that as very routine, with homes starting at a certain price point. And if it doesn't have the three-car garage, you can be at a real competitive disadvantage. in the marketplace today.
Do you think we need the 3-car garage because we need the garage space and then we need the place to put the junk?
Well, that does happen oftentimes, but often we don't have 3 cars, but we do need the space either for a boat, for all kinds of toys, and it does lend itself very favorably towards towards storage, if nothing else.
Right.
So you don't think of the garage as storage, and I obviously that's why you wrote the book. Would you suggest that homes of the future, and I know you had a little section about homes of the future, have a dedicated storage space for your junk so that the garage can be the place for your work, get your workbench and your cars and whatever?
Well, James, let's call it organized junk. There's stuff that we don't use, and oftentimes when you don't know what you want to do with something, somebody may say, well, just toss it in the garage. And unfortunately, that is what happens all too often. And over time, we've used the garage floor as a shelf. And that's why over time, the incremental effect of stuff in the garage just takes over, and the cars then are relegated out into the driveway. But with my organizational ideas that I've incorporated within the book, it does indeed give you the latitude to be able to store things so you know where things are when you need it.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about the Christmas decorations that most people are probably taking down if they haven't already, and where do those things go when you only use them once a year?
Well, that's a good point, and there's a lot of different products out there now that hang from the ceiling. So there's things that you may not use on a routine basis, like Christmas decorations or any other seasonal decorations that one might use, but there's basically hanging from the ceiling an opportunity to be able to store those things and still have pretty good access for those items when you need them.
Mm-hmm. What are some tips that you give? You give great tips in the book. Tell us some of those tips that you give for organizing your garage, because I know for some people it's such a large obstacle to even tackle that a lot of people just keep putting it off and putting it off. So give us some of those tips for organizing the garage.
Well, sure. One of the tips is to think about lighting. Oftentimes garages are just dark and dank, and you don't really want to spend any time out there at all. So by being able to have some track lights at a big box store, you can get these 3-bulb track lights, for example, for maybe $25. And to be able to put those out there, several of them, you have a much brighter work environment, if you would. Also, I like display wall. Those are the groove panels oftentimes that you see in retail stores. They have the removable hooks that you can incorporate within the storage, and that gives you flexibility of storage. So as your organizing needs change, you can just lift the hook off those groove panels.
Can you buy those anywhere? I mean, does Lowe's and Home Depot sell those?
No, they don't. At least they haven't in the past.
Okay.
But you can go to stores that cater to retailers.
Okay.
They come in 4x8 sheets, and it's a medium density fiberboard, or known as MDF.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really easy to cut. Come in a variety of colors. You can make it really cool. But there's also companies that have the extruded plastic with the same kind of grooved panels in a variety of colors, even wood colors. So you can become as elaborate as you want to be on the panels for the garage wall. So by putting it up there, and I like to say, you organize to visualize. If you can see it, you can find it.
True.
And how many of us have multiple tape measures, for example? We look for something, we can't find it, so what do? We go out and buy another one.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to lighting, using storage strategies on the wall, of course, cabinets become an integral part as well, and also flooring. I like the polyaspartic kind of epoxy that you can apply to the floor. I've got started out with a different brand. I have now a new brand. It's a polyaspartic kind. This is the kind that you can actually design for pools. So it's used for outdoors.
Is that just a visual look, or is there actually a reason to do that? I mean, does it help maintain the garage? Is it easy to clean?
Easy to clean.
Okay.
You can even power wash this material. And I've used the Flex in there, so you do have good traction. So when wet, it's not slippery. Mm-hmm. But I simply use a mop and a bucket and some simple green, which is it's economical, and also it's certainly very good to be able to clean very easily, and it just maintain a nice environment out there.
So when you say you, are you saying that this is something that a do-it-yourselfer can easily do for himself, or at what point would they need some professional help?
Well, it's recommended to have professional help as far as applying the epoxy flooring. I wouldn't take it. I mean, that's why we've got professionals out there that can do a variety of things. And if you're really a handy carpenter and do a lot of that on a routine basis, that's certainly an opportunity that you might be able to do some of this. I want to also add that you don't have to do this all at once. A lot of home budgets just don't allow everybody to go out and put in an epoxy-coated floor. And what I've discovered, it'll cost maybe $15 a square foot to do an entire garage outfit. But the good news is you don't have to do it all at once. I think you, first of all, employ a strategy. What's the most important thing? And for most people, it's getting stuff off the floor. As I said earlier, we use the floor as a shelf. And so by using cabinets maybe as a first option, because that'll get stuff off the floor, or perhaps even the groove panels for the wall. So you get stuff off the floor, put them in the cabinets, put them on the walls, so you can do the flooring, the workbench, the lighting, other things later on.
Yeah, I think you're right. The most important thing is to get it off the floor. Like you said, if you can see it, then you can find it, right?
That's right.
All right.
Bill, can you stay with us? We need to take a commercial break, but we'd like to talk to you a little bit more.
I understand.
All right, we'll be right back here on Houston Real Estate Radio. If you have a real estate question, you can give us a call at 281-882-8088, and we'll answer that question for you right here on the air.